Here is the highest round without dying on every single Treyarch Zombies map. Before we jump into the World at War maps, it's worth noting that quick revive doesn't work the way we know and love. Instead of acting as a self revive, it instead just ends the game. And with that being said, that means that every single World at War map is simply just the highest round achieved. And for Nakda and Toten, that round is 5,262, which is set by Krups. Throughout the run, he's training in the box room using the flamethrower and the Thompson, and it ends after just under a 96-hour run where he unfortunately gets trapped in a corner. He shouldn't be upset though, as his run is 2,200 rounds clear of the next person. And with his run being the record for over 2 years now, it doesn't look like it's going to be taken down anytime soon. Not to mention that he holds the world record for every single World at War Zombies map. In Verrucht, he reaches round 3,365 and again unfortunately gets cornered. On Shinonuma, Krups holds the world record with one of the most notorious runs in Zombies history. The game goes on for well over 4 days where Krups reaches an impressive 11,482. There's no doubt that this run definitely could have went on longer, but unfortunately Krups gets hit with a reset. Moving on to Derice, where he uses the entire map to train using all the traps that he can, Krups reaches round 170 in just over 37 hours. The traps, however, would also be the downfall of this run, as he runs back through a trap and gets sideswiped by a zombie. Moving on to Kino to Toten now, and round 227 is the round to beat, set by Zombie Tube. Throughout the run, he uses the fire trap and the thunder gun to get the highest round possible until he gets reset. Something interesting that's definitely worth noting about the difference in games and times, that this Kino 227 run actually takes 26 hours longer than Krups' 3,365 run in Verrucht. Moving on now to 5, where Kryptonix holds the record with round 201. He uses the crossbow and the Winter's Fury to push through the rounds, but he eventually decides to call it quits at 53 hours, 49 minutes and 48 seconds. Moving on to Ascension, where Frenzy holds the record with round 222, where he unfortunately gets reset. Ascension's definitely known for being one of the more easier maps, but still to reach round 222 is very impressive. Aslan61 holds the record of round 81 in Call of the Dead. After a long 41 hours, the lack of a powerful weapon shows on this map as he gets pushed off the side by zombies. Moving on to Shangri-La now, where HGM Rick holds the record with round 204. Impressively, this run also holds the record for the highest round on Shang, as after downing, he pushes onto round 208, where after 68.5 hours he is met with the unfortunate reset. Pushing slightly further, and on round 211, Gyro's using Semtexes to push the limits on Moon, and after a long-winded 76 hours, he's also met with a reset. Moving on, and here we start to see the real differences between Black Ops 1 and World at War, as the Black Ops 1 Nakda and Toten record currently stands at 148 and is set by Furret. He's using both the Help Room and the Spawn Room to train, but unfortunately is hit with a complete game crash at the end of the run. Moving on now, and it's Nesta53 who holds the record of round 191 on Verrucht. As you can see, he uses the Thompson and grenades to his advantage, but unfortunately he does down after a zombie comes up behind him and traps him. Clearly enjoys the map though, as he also holds the high rounds record of 208. Moving on to Shinonuma, where the record is 165 set by Jaminator. The difference between the games really starts to show here, as although Black Ops 1's run is still impressive, it is significantly less than the World at War record. Similar to World at War though, Frenzy uses a similar tactic to get to round 218 on Derice. Unlike Krups' run though, Frenzy's run comes to an end with a reset. Moving on to Black Ops 2 now, where Transit's record of 145 is held by Sephi. Unfortunately though, resets are still haunting speedrunners in this game, and after a long 35 hours, the record holding run comes to an end. Moving on now to one of the more difficult Zombies maps, round 80 is the record to beat on Nuketown. Mossy's run comes to an end after struggling with some box luck. After a few spins, he pauses the game and simply calls it a day. Moving on now to Die Rise, where round 140 is where Blaster's got to without dying. He's using the Tremblestein to push the limits and progress, but unfortunately gets triple swiped after double backing on himself. Round 140 is also the record for Mob of the Dead. This one's set by Erdemith Zombie, and he's using the Acid Gat and the Acid Trap, and after 26 hours and 41 minutes he decides to pause and call it a day. Moving on to Buried now, where Pfizer uses the buildables to his advantage to reach round 221. Despite the buildables doing most of the work in this strategy, it still takes just over 57 hours to get to round 220. The run ends at 221 when he goes to the bar, still using the Trample Steam to progress, but he freezes. Speaking of freezing, the Ice Staff is the main weapon used in K-Town's round 124 run in Origins. He's training in the Gen 2 bunker, but eventually calls it a day after running out of ammo in the ice staff. Running out of ammo was also Syntech's Zombie's downfall in his 255 run on Shadows of Evil, where after just under 56 hours he runs out of ammo and calls it a day. Also at round 255 is the record for the Giant, where the Gamer's End uses the AATs to his advantage using Deadwire on the RK5 in the spawn room. Ashy Foot for the win also reaches round 255 on Drak. He uses the buildable DG4s to his advantage to reach this round, uses the death ray to kill the final zombie to reach his achievement. Zetsubo Noshima's record of round 215 is set by KXG124. His run takes advantage of the skull. We can only be left to presume that his game crashed as the gameplay simply cuts off at 215. KXG does also hold the record for Garrod Crovey, where we do get a definitive end to the game. He's using the shield to his advantage until he's suddenly met with the PlayStation crash screen. What's very interesting about all of these runs is that they use classic Gobblegums, all of which surpass the records of runs only using Mega Gobblegums. However, Pikachu himself sets Revelation's round 255 record using no Gobblegums at all. He even finishes the run off with an impressive Haymaker trick shot. Moving on to Black Ops 4 now, where L. Trevis holds the 9 record at round 258. He uses this rocket launcher to his advantage, and you're going to be seeing this a lot in the Black Ops 4 records as it is completely overpowered. ZBL Speedy Ben holds the record on Voyage of Despair at round 216. He simply finds a corner where zombies can only come in from one direction and uses that rocket launcher to his advantage. After reaching round 216, he simply pauses and calls it a day. Round counter starts to get a little bit confusing past round 256. Round 346 is the round to beat on Blood of the Dead, set by Intuit Scott. The run comes to an end after he tries to get away after being cornered, but unfortunately he gets swiped again and the game ends. Ashy Foot for the win makes a comeback from Drak and sets the classified record at 255. Again, like a few others, he decides to call it a day. Kill Will V2 holds the record on Dead of the Night, setting the round at 335. And once again, we see the return of the rocket launcher as it's used in a corner to reach the round. Similar to the last record, he also decides to end the game and call it a day. 322 is the round to beat on Ancient Evil as Endless Madness uses the Exalted Hand to push the limits. Maranga holds the record of 226 on Alpha Omega, where he uses the traps and the shield to his advantage. I can't even see what's going on in this Tag the Totem gameplay, but round 393 is the round to beat, set by Basket Shots. All of the Cold War records are set at 935 using support, so we're going to be taking a look at the rounds that are set without support. That being said, AQZ holds the record at round 294 on D Machine. He uses the explosives like grenades to his advantage, but unfortunately his game black screens and crashes, ending the record run. Moving on to Firebase Z, where Hawkwood holds the record at 470. He takes advantage of the OP Ring of Fire and uses the Ray K to gun down the zombies. Returning from his run on D Machine is AQZ as he holds the Mauda Totem record at 257. He uses the Wonder Weapon to his advantage, but unfortunately, similar to his D Machine run, he also crashes on this one. I really wish there was a timer for this run, but the Outbreak record is round 375. This one's set by Try It Out, and although there is no timer, if you've ever played Outbreak up to at least round 10, you can probably throw together a rough estimate of how long this might have taken. Last but certainly not least, round 308 is the record to beat on Forsaken, set by Narrow Alloy. It takes advantage of the spawn area, reaching round 307 by training and mantling onto the trucks. Unlike some of the other runs, the game shortly ends after he takes his first down, but unfortunately, because of the PhD slider, he slides into a horde of zombies and the game ends. Of course, a huge congrats is due to everyone who holds the record here for the sheer amount of time that goes into these records, but if you want to know one fact about every single zombies map, then click here.